channel. My name is Tsakani Hlongwane and I'm better known as TK. This is a beauty and wellness channel with a little bit of lifestyle. I am a 42-year-old YouTuber. I love creating content. I love having, controversial or deep conversations, or just basic things that interest me, that I like to talk about. I love to talk about just things related to beauty, and sometimes I love to show you what I get up to on my day-to-day thing. So this video is really inspired by a vlog that I did about 2 weeks ago, where I showed you guys a day in my life, but I had titled, not a day, it was a weekend in my life, but I had titled it Living Alone Diaries of a Child-Free Woman Over 40. And it did well, in my opinion. In the first few days, I was already on 1.7 thousand views, which was a lot for me, considering that I only have 1,700 subscribers. So yeah, and I was like, I wonder if it's because of the title and people are intrigued. They want to know about, this lifestyle. Or I don't know, people are just, I don't know, I really don't know. I was really puzzled by why the video did very well and everything, and the thumbnail was dope as well. It was really a cute thumbnail, so I think that also got a lot of people jumping into the video, so I was like, let me do a video just dedicated to that. But I took a moment to ask you guys on my community post to ask if it is something you'd like me to speak about, if you've got specific questions about me being over 40, living alone, and being child-free. And some of you were kind enough to take part in that community post and ask me a few questions. So I am going to ask you, I'm going to answer those questions. And so I didn't think there was anything special about the title. Must be honest, I felt like it's the same way as if somebody would ask, if they would title their vlog, a day in the life of a stay-at-home mom, or a day in the life of a single mom, or a day in the life of a housewife, or a weekend in the life of a student staying in Res. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really regular stuff, but it sparked some interest, and I was like, okay, maybe we could get into it. So here we are. I'm going to answer some of the questions that you guys were kind enough to send to me. Okay, so I will start with the one that I see first, and this is from our very regular subscriber, that is Phumzile Nkomo 9571. She says, how does society or people feel or react when they find out you don't have kids? She sent me a few questions, so I'm going to read them all and then answer them one by one. So that's the first one. How does society or people feel or react when they find out you don't have kids? Number two, for you, how would you differentiate between child-free and childless? If you were to get married right now, would you have kids? Was it a decision you took when you were young not to have kids, or not really? Then she asked, do you love kids in general? Meaning, if I have 3 kids under 3 years of age, would you babysit them for a week? I think this was a tricky question. And then number 5, I wish I was living alone. I would love it. And then she says, to be honest, I'm a very open-minded person and get very surprised when people ask us this question, why do you have kids? Like, seriously, it is nice. It is 2024. Thank you so much, Phumzile, for this question. So let me start with the first one. How does society or people feel or react when they find out you don't have kids? Okay, so this question has had different reactions depending on my answer in the different phases of my life. So if you're seeing this video seeing me for the first time, maybe you have not watched my video. I think it's my first video on my page, on my homepage, where I talk about I don't want to have kids, and then I say, yes, I've changed my mind. Okay, so when I was younger, I did want kids at some point, okay? But I knew the roots because of how I was raised is that I need to get married first. But the desire was always more on the kid vibes versus marriage. You know what I'm saying? But I also knew that I wouldn't want to be a single parent by choice. So when I got married, it was a desire to have children. And for the longest time, before I was married, I wanted to have girls. I was like, raising girls would be so cool, you know, like a twin and all that jazz. But when I got married, immediately, without having discussed this with my ex-husband, I knew that I wanted to have a son. I think because he had girls already. And funny enough, how God works, the girls, the eldest girl looked like me. A lot of people always said that from her body structure. Her body structure was different from her mom. It was more her dad's side, which was more curvaceous, so it looked like me. And then the younger one had a personality that was more like mine. So it was weird. So I felt like, okay, where girls are concerned, I'm good, right? So I was like, I want to have a son. And as soon as I got married, I realized much later, well, as soon, because I didn't fall pregnant, and then later I realized that I had fibroids. And I only removed those fibroids 3 years ago, but I was already out of the marriage. My doctor has given me a go-ahead to try for children, but I'm no longer interested because I'm not married and I do not want to intentionally become a single parent. All right. So how people react when I was younger, when I was in my early 30s or even late 20s, saying, why do I not have children? My answer was, because I'm not married. And then people say, the clock is ticking. And I was like, well, according to my principles, I want to have a child within a marriage structure. I was very clear about that, you know. And then I got married. Nobody really asked, actually. I don't remember people asking, except when we are in public. My ex-husband and I will always draw children towards us. We could be at a salon, we could be at a restaurant, kids will come and play around us. He was good with kids, I'm good with kids. So it was always interesting, and people sometimes would say, hey, you must give him another child, because they assumed that the kids we had were obviously biologically mine. So that was the second reaction. I've never received any pressure from my family, thank God, nor from his family. Okay, cool. Now that I am single and still child-free, the reaction is very interesting. Men think I'm lying. Yeah, I've told you guys before about a guy I went on a date with, and when I told him I didn't have children, he made a thing about it and said, why would you lie about something like that? You know, as if like I would hide having children from him. And then when I said I had no interest of having children going forward, the guy was literally disgusted, you know, lack of better words, and said that it was the will of God that I should have children. How dare I not want to have children? Which obviously I didn't go on a date with him again, because I thought that was very disrespectful to say that, and not even asking like the reasons and details, which I did not owe him the reason, but just to off the bat say that I found that very offensive. So men get shocked. He was not the first one. Men do get shocked. Women usually get this when women see me with their children, how their children love me. Little ones, you know, below 5, we get along very well, or even 6, you know, these talkative ones, love them. Women are like shocked. They're like, oh, you also have children? I said, no. Oh, one day God will bless you. You know, immediately they go into that mode. God will bless you with kids. And I'll be like, no, I have no interest. They'll be like, but you're so good with them. And I'm like, yeah, just because I'm good with them doesn't mean I need to have them. You know what I'm saying? And then people are usually like, you know, so I get that a lot, where people are just like, something is weird. Some people say, oh yeah, I guess you can't have children. Like, especially men, they'll just say that off the bat. And I'm like, wow, that's very disrespectful. I don't know if I can or not, because when I had fibroids, I couldn't. But now that I've been cleared, a lot of women have been able to have children after that. And there's a lot that I also have never discussed on this channel about not having children in my marriage, because I think it's such a private thing that has happened that a lot of people don't know about on a spiritual level, that I'm not able to discuss here, because I don't think it's necessary. And for those who don't understand how spiritual things work, they just probably gonna think I'm making it up, and I don't want to get into that kind of debate. So yeah, it's been interesting to hear how people react. I do believe in the Black community, it's still something that people go, that's weird. But people who are more other cultures, some of them are like, yeah, sure. You know, I had a friend who's now moved to the UK, who from always, she said she didn't want to have children and she didn't want to be married. And you know, it was normal in her, what do you call it, in her what do you call it, in her culture. She's white, you know, like no big deal, nobody accused her. Well, but people did say things like, you'll change your mind one day, or it's selfish of you, you know, who's gonna look after you when you're older. People do say things like that, but we do know that having children doesn't guarantee that they will look after you. You know that, right? Anyway, that's the reaction that I've been getting from people. Let's move on to question 2 from Pumzile. For how would you it says, how would you differentiate between child-free and childless? How we differentiate is that child-free, I think, is by choice, and childless is when you do not have children. It's like a lack. And I don't want to see myself as having lack in any way, you know? I am just free of children. I do not have children, but it's coming from a more positive or good vibes versus childless, because then that comes from a point of lack, and the energy that it carries is very different. You know what I'm saying? It carries freedom, it carries more time to myself, it carries things that I'm able to do without having to consider that there are children to look after or whatever. Where if I were to say I am childless, it will make me less than, which what society often makes you feel when you do not have children, that you are lacking something, you are not contributing to society because you have not produced a human being, you know. So that is how I would differentiate it. And I like that term. I learned it maybe a year or two ago, and I was like, yeah, that's me. I am childless. I mean, child-free rather. Yeah. Okay, and then the third question from Pumzile says, if you were to get married now, would you have kids? No, I definitely would not desire, unless God has jokes. And a lot of people think God has jokes and he's going to surprise me and I'll be like, ta-da! I hope not. But I mean, if it happens, I know I will make peace with the idea, and I hope that I will be in a condition to actually look after my children mentally, emotionally, and financially. Because right now I am not in a position to do that. Not financially. I'm doing my best to look after myself, and then mentally, definitely I'm not. Emotionally, I'm definitely not. You know what I'm saying? So no, I hope not. I am praying that whoever God decides is the right man for me. It would be lovely. I always joke like God must humor me and give me a man who has no children, doesn't desire to have any. Because since my mid-20s, I've always attracted men with children and men who are good fathers. So not even deadbeat fathers, fathers who are present. So I know when men see me, they see a good stepmom, I think. Which I am, unfortunately. But it would be nice. I'm like, God, humor me. I'm a child-free man who has no desire to have children. We can just live our lives together happily ever after. But who knows? But that's like true. Like if they said, yeah, I could have whatever I want, that is what I would really want. Okay? Because I in the past, I was like, it's no big deal. I think my dad, when he remarried, he had me and my sister. So, you know, I always think like, imagine if, you know, she couldn't get married again because he had children. That wouldn't be fair. You know what I'm saying? But now that I'm old, I'm also like, it would be nice not to have children. But yeah, it would be nice. Okay, number 4, was it a decision you took when you were young or not to have kids, or not really? I think I've answered that already in my first question. Then number 5, do you love kids in general? Meaning, if I have 3 kids under 3 years of age, would you babysit them for a week? I can answer this question in 2 parts. Do I love children in general? Definitely. Oh, I love children. My manager always laughs when I say to her, like in my previous place, I always, where my unit, my apartment was positioned, it was in front of like a play area. And I love the sound of children laughing. You know, even when I was married, when the daughters were laughing, cracking jokes, it just used to warm my heart. I love the presence of children. And like back to my manager, she would say, I would say to her, I prefer children. It's the adults that get to me. You know what I'm saying? Like if there's noise from adults, I'm just like, oh, these people, can they calm down? But if I hear children laughing, I love that. So children, I love them. I gravitate towards them. They also like me. So it's great. But when you say when I babysit children under 3, no, I wouldn't, because I like my space. I love peace. I like waking up when I want to, which is usually early in the morning, but it's because I want to, not because there's someone asking me to make breakfast for them, or who's crying and asking me they want to go to the toilet or stuff like that. No, I don't want to do that. Thank you. I've had my share with my sister's kids when I would visit or whatever, which was great, playing auntie. But someone else's children, no, thank you. Thank you. I love them, but no, I love them more because they are your children. Okay. And then she says, I wish I was living alone. I would love it. Yeah, well, I love it. Like, guys, I love living alone. I think it's such a luxury and a blessing that I do not take for granted. It suits my personality very well, living alone, even when I was at home. Like, I looked forward to the parents leaving and me being by myself. It's like, that's my thing. You know, I think even at the time when I lived with my sister, when they would go on holiday, I think like I've lived alone in their house more than they've lived by themselves. Like one person living there when everyone else is not around. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't that make sense? I was that comfortable with being in a big house, a standalone house. I was not scared. Leave me alone. I'm good, So that's just my personality. I'm good with people, but I need time to be alone. Like, for instance, this weekend is a very weekend that it's a weekend filled with people. Like, I'm peopling a lot. I know next weekend I want to not people because I need a break like that. It's weird, but that's how I am. All right, so we're done with Pumzile's questions. I'm now going to move on to Makotso, another fave on this channel. She says, what are some things that pleasantly surprise you in your 40s? And then she says, what are you most looking forward to as you settle into your 40s? Okay, sure. This is not an easy question, but let me go back to the first one. What are some things that pleasantly surprise you in your 40s? Okay, I think one of the things that pleasantly surprise me is that I don't feel pressure to have achieved certain things by my age at 40. You know, when you grow up, we have this idea of you would have achieved this. We have timelines. And I think because life has humbled me, I've had a few things that haven't gone my way. I'm so at peace with life progressing as it needs to, in its own pace. As long as in each era of my life, I am happy, that is great for me. So I can sit in a company of people that have achieved what society will see as a lot, especially financially, assets and all of that. And I can just sit there and listen and be content with listening and seeing people talk about their achievements and being content with that. You know what I'm saying? Without feeling that I need to move away or I cannot be part of this conversation. And maybe I can't because I'm listening to what they're saying, but it doesn't make me feel a bit uncomfortable or anything like that. It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like those pressures that I may have had when I was younger have like gone, my peace and working towards my own dreams in my own pace is where I am right now. And I'm always like, this is such a lovely way to live because it's my own pressures, not pressures that I let society dictate to me. So that has pleasantly surprised me. I'm also pleasantly surprised that I'm actually content. I think it's going back to that. I've always been a content person, but I'm like really, really content. And me saying I'm content doesn't mean I'm everyday content, but 80% of my life, I'm thinking, I'm at peace. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, yeah, Hohola like really comes with its own kind of just being settled in who you are, which is so lovely, I'm also pleasantly surprised by the grace that I extend to people. I think I've mentioned, I don't know if it's on this channel, I spoke to someone before saying that the way that I can extend grace to people, realizing that in life, none of us have this thing figured out. So we all have our own thing that we're doing. And as long as we're doing what works for us, that's okay. I'm not going to sit here and be on some people should do X, Y, Z, because you may be looking at me and thinking I should be doing XYZ. And that would not be fair, because you don't know my life like that. Even though I can come to you and tell you whatever I tell you, but you don't really know it. You know what I'm saying? So I really extend a lot of grace to people and be like, it's okay, they're doing what they need to do. You know what I'm saying? What has also pleasantly surprised me is that I've always been someone who does not take nonsense, but my level of not taking nonsense right now, it's really deep. Like, guys, I get to get it toxic now, you know. I think I have a level of people pleasing. It's not obvious, but it is there, where I like my peace because I'm not confrontational, but inside I might be, you know what I'm saying? But now when people offend me and I feel like there is no reason to be even telling the person that they offend me, especially of the male species, I cut them off with immediate effect. I cannot stand being disrespected. Not even if you are being cute about it, I will block you. You are a friend and you are stepping the line, I'm gonna block you without explanation, because you should know better. You're an adult, you know my standards, you know my principles, and you thought you could say XYZ and I would be okay with it. I block, I delete your number and block, done. But you must wonder by yourself what happened, because our relationship, I feel like it was good and I trusted you so much. Now the fact that you think you could cross the line by saying maybe something that may be sexual or whatever, I am going to block you without explaining myself. And maybe you can tell me and say it's toxic, I don't know, but it's where I am right now. I'm always like, okay, you are this person, like, don't cross the line. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's move on to the second question by Makotso. What are you most looking forward to as you settle into your 40s? I'm looking forward to see what I'm going to change my mind about. Because one thing about growing up, you realize the ideals you had younger, they may change. The principles that you were so sure about may change because that no longer works for you. So I'm looking forward to see how to go change up my mind about what next, you know what I'm saying? Which is fun. I'm not someone who changes my mind a lot, but when I do, I'm very like, oh, okay, that doesn't work for me, next, you know? So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to also seeing what I'm going to achieve that maybe I didn't even dream about when I was younger. Maybe something that seems far-fetched now, and then the day I achieve it, I'm going to be like, wow, we did that, you know? I mean, I'm even en route to change my careers, you know. I still want to be in the same industry, but to change my career. And I'm in my 40s now, and then who thinks of that? And I know it's possible. The fact that I started YouTube at 40, what else can I start? So I'm looking forward to seeing the adventure. And also I'm looking forward to see the kind of man I settle down with. I'm excited about that. Yeah, I think that's going to be quite an adventure as well. Okay, let's move on to Lady T. All my faves are here, man. All my faves. So Lady T says, I want to hear your thoughts about Njolo wa over 40. Uring Mongwaneng. She made me laugh so hard because people are always interested in, you know, dating after 40. If you want to laugh a little bit, there is a video that I recorded with Auntie T on this channel, Dating After 40. You're more than welcome to look for it. It's one of the very good videos, or best performing videos, one off, yeah. So it was quite entertaining and everything. So you can go there and check. But just to answer this question about Njolo in my 40s, and I think also after marriage, it's very different, you know. I really miss dating in my 20s. The men I attracted in my 20s or in Pretoria when I was living in Pretoria were really, I think, a lot more top tier. You know what I'm saying? How they treated dating versus now. Guys, when I tell you that guys used to bring me flowers, you know, in a vase because they did not assume that I had a vase. That was the good days. And what's boring is at some point when that thing was happening, I was still living at home and I was not gonna walk into my father's house with a bunch of flowers So I would leave it at work in like the beauty room and then just let them die and then bring my vase at some point. But the guys were romantic in that sense, you know. Guys were eager to take me out on a date. You know, you'd meet someone in the parking lot and during lunchtime, and that night I'm off to a date. Or when I used to travel a lot and maybe I'm on a flight, 5 o'clock, going to PE with work, and maybe we for whatever reason we coming back maybe a day or two different with the person that I met in the flight, and maybe Thursday I'm coming back, they coming back on Wednesday, and then Friday we go on a date, you know. So that was lovely. It was so exciting in that sense, where now kids, man, yeah, when I find a guy who's eager to go on a date with me, I'm like, oh, okay. Who doesn't just want to chat? It's nice, you know, who wants to take you to like a good dining experience. I love that. But I haven't met a lot. But also, I must be honest, I'm very much indoors, you know. I'm literally waiting for God to drop my man through the roof at this point, because I don't go outside. If you don't invite me outside, I'm not outside, guys, you know, unless I'm hiking or something like that, you know. So I have no idea how I plan to meet my man. And I don't do online dating. I don't do social media DMs. I don't take people seriously on the DMs. And I know some of you got married to the loves of your lives in the DMs. I am not at that level where I take people serious on DMs, you know. I don't like the high. I want you to get to a point, and I might give you an attention. But if you're just gonna say hello, I'm gonna ignore you. You know, I'm not trying to get played in my DMs, but I know there's been very successful relationships on social media. So yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's not toxic the way people make it out to be. I think when you're older, you just have an expectation of how you want to be treated, and you know you don't have to settle because there is more than enough to go around, you know. There is really enough. The right guy is there for me, and I'm not gonna settle for whoever just because, you know. Because one of the things, I'm not lonely, you know. I'm not lonely at all. I enjoy my own company. I really want, when I do go out, it must be worth it. You know what I'm saying? The date must be amazing. I must enjoy the food where we're going. I must enjoy the experience if you are someone who's going to invite me to some kind of adventure, you know. I must enjoy our conversations when we're talking, you know, and everything like that. You know, one thing I'm grateful for as someone who's in their 40s is that in my entire life, I've never been asked what I bring to your table. Like, I've never been asked by a man what I bring to the table. I've never. No, not a man who's pursuing me. Like, I'm trying to think. We're not waiting, but it has happened before with my ex-husband trying to be very whatever with me on one of his episodes, when was always trying to like break up with me or bring the divorce card, and he mentioned something to that sort, you know. But otherwise, and that was a manipulation, I'm aware of that. But otherwise, anyone who pursued me and then asked me what I bring to the table, I think that would be very weird. You know, how do you go to someone's house and ask them what they bring to the table? I've never asked anyone out. Like, I've never shelled a guy. Like, if you leave, I've never done it. Like, I've never looked at a man and thought, oh, I want him. I always assume people are taken. So I'm always surprised when someone asks me out and they are really single. So I would never, like, why would I? Yeah, so bring to the table? This is a very interesting question. I get it, but I also don't get it. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, but yeah, that is Hojola in the 40s. It is what it is. I still think that I'm gonna meet someone exciting, but I'm in no rush. When it happens, it's gonna be fun. I want it to be really fun. I do daydream about it, and I get excited because of the kind of person that I would like to attract. And for now, I'll enjoy the sweet dreams that I have of that kind of person that I desire to attract one day. Okay, then let's move on to J4567. Jay says, on the other side of 40, there is no room for immaturity and time wasting behaviors like cheating and lying. It sounds like she's talking about relationships. That's a reason why most women over 40 are still single and not miserable about it. What is your take on that? I love this. Yes, I think, excuse me, it's very linked to how I answered Lady T right now. You are right, there is no room for immaturity and time wasting behaviors like cheating and lying. And yes, some of us are not miserable about being single in our 40s. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I don't have to tolerate that. And also, I know that being desired by a man is not the most important thing for me. I am very desirable. You know what I'm saying? I know that. I'm attractive. I've got a beautiful personality. I'm a kind person. I'm loving. I make a good partner. Am I perfect? No. I have my own toxic traits, whatever those are there. Those may be. I am not perfect, but those who've enjoyed my company know that, I'm good for it. You know what I'm saying? So when a man comes into my life, I don't look at it as like, oh my God, I'm chosen. You know what I'm saying? I think I've lived through my 20s being a pygmisha. If you listen to Shira 7, Miss Sprinkle Sprinkle, she says women who like being picked are called pygmishas. And I know that in my 20s and maybe 30s, I was a pygmisha. I really was one of those who say, I don't ask anything from a man. I'm not a gold digger. I'm not a nagging woman. And you know what? You still don't get picked, Gunjalo. So, hey, this thing is tricky. You think, yo, I'm so humble. I don't nag anyone. I don't give anyone a hard time. And therefore, and life still shows you Gutai Shem. That's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? So now that I'm older, I look at it and I'm just like, you know what? A relationship needs to make sense for me. It must add value to my life. In different ways. The company needs to be good. The man should really be a good man and kind man who finds my company amazing, who wants to do lovely things for me. You know what I'm saying? Which have a financial benefit to it. You know what I'm saying? A man who can say, let's go XYZ, let's do this. Oh, I was in the shops and I saw this. I thought about you and I thought you could do with X amount of money. Those things are nice, okay? But also be a kind man, not only to me, but I would see it in how they behave with people in their lives. Kind people are so attractive, my goodness. Especially a man who serves. Oh my God, I love that, But yeah, so I know that I don't have to settle for anything. A man who loves God and loves people. A man who's confident, but also humble. There are men like that. So I know I'm not asking for a lot. You know what I'm saying? Solid. They are there. So I will find someone like that one day. Or they'll find me. Whatever. Whatever. So yeah, no settling over here. Then the second last question is from for the grandkids I don't have. Yeah. She says, how do you deal with societal misconceptions about choosing to be child-free, as well as comments like you are selfish for not wanting to have children? I have not received those. No, I did say I have. Those kind of comments. It was from a man. I just think it's very misinformed. It's very ignorant for people to say that. And I'll tell you straight up that you're out of line for thinking so, but I will not waste my energy explaining, That's your view and that's okay. Raising children is not easy. I'm not saying I'm not capable of it. If you've experienced me, I'm very capable of it. You know what I'm saying? I would make a great mom. I know that for sure, but it's not something that I would want to do, because I'm looking at how it is and I'm just like, I know your bundles of joys make you happy, but they also bring a lot of pain and struggle and challenges with them. And right now I am happy to rebuild my life and create a life that I desire that is child-free. And that does not make me selfish. That does not make me anything that is negative. It's actually a good thing. And the world is a better place when people can intentionally choose not to have children instead of bringing children, adding my trauma to their trauma, and that whole cycle just continues. You know what I'm saying? And for now, this decision works for me, and I'm grateful that I'm able to make that decision. That I didn't have the children at the time that I wanted to. I really do not regret it, and I'm always grateful for that. I have nieces and nephews, guys, and your guys' children as well. And for some reason, people's children love me. So, get sharp. Then the last one from Bonagele says, and has life began at 40 for you? This question is a tricky one, because I think when people say life begins at 40, it is different for everybody, right? Is it a new career? Is it caring less about what people think? Is it having a different perspective about life? I think it can be interpreted in so many ways. So in the sense that, has it begun? I think yes, it has begun. Turning 40 is probably the second best day of my life, or happiest day of my life. I really was so happy on that day. That entire weekend, I was just so happy. And the year that I turned 40 was a beautiful year. It was a year after a very hard year. And then when I turned 40, it was just a beautiful year. Has it begun in the sense that I'm open to trying new things? Yes, in that sense it has. I'm excited about the future. It feels like a rebirth, honestly. I'm not consumed about looking younger than I am. I do think that I look my age, even though people do say that I look younger. It does not get into my head because I don't think it's a real thing. I do feel young for sure. I feel rejuvenated in spirit, that I can dream again. I can try new things. And I'm praying right now for God to give me new dreams. I'm ready for a new dream, to start things over, but not from a negative point of view, because my starting over in the past has been from things breaking and now having to rebuild. Now my starting over, it's coming from a point of, okay, we've done this era in our lives. Now there's a new era. Let's start this new era and build it. You know what I'm saying? So it has begun, and I'm so grateful that I get to live it. I really am grateful. And yeah, that's basically it. I love my life. I love being over 40. I love living alone. It gives me so much peace. I love being child-free. It gives me time to do the things I want when I want to. And I don't take that for granted, that I can plan my life whichever way I desire, and I don't have to think of considering children or a partner and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm grateful. And I hope that it's something that women can do intentionally if they desire, and the society does not have to make them feel bad about it, especially Black South African women, that it's normal, it's not something bad. And also that people who are married and have children do not make it look like they should not associate with us because of that. It does not mean that we can now not relate because I am not married. I have no desire to remarry. I have no desire to have children. Therefore, I'm a bad influence, because that's not the case. I love marriage. And at the point when I was happy, I was so grateful to be happy, and I've got good memories of marriage. You know what I'm saying? I have good memories of being a mom to my stepchildren. I have good memories of living with a family. You know what I'm saying? And that is an era in my life that has passed. And when I was in it, I enjoyed it fully. I was not hoping to be single. I was not hoping to have no children when I was there. I was fully present and owning it. And now that I am in this different season of my life, I'm owning it and enjoying it without a desire to have something else, because this is where I am. I'm fully in it. I am fully in it, and I am enjoying it so much. Anyway, that is that. I hope you've enjoyed that Q&A about being 40, living alone, and being child free. Let me know if you are also in this team. living alone, being child free, and maybe you are younger. I know it's more younger people who are in this space, who might be younger than me, and everything like that. But yeah, I'm grateful that I get to choose to live this kind of life. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to chatting you guys again in my next video. I hope you have to subscribe if you have not done that yet, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Like and leave a comment for me.